Hello. If you're watching this, chances are you're in a hospital bed, probably in a whole lot of pain and feeling pretty scared and confused. I just want to walk you through what's happening inside your body, what your care team is doing about it, and what the road ahead looks like. Okay? Let's get into it.
First things first, let's talk about that pain. This isn't just any old stomach ache, right? That feeling you have is incredibly intense and, well, really specific. People often describe it as this deep, stabbing, or even boring pain, like it's drilling right through your body to your back. What you're feeling is absolutely real, it's severe, and it's the classic sign of what's going on. So what on earth is causing this level of discomfort? Well, the source of it all is a small but really powerful organ that's gotten extremely irritated. Let's take a closer look at it. Meet your pancreas. It's this little gland tucked away right behind your stomach. And believe me, it's a powerhouse. It has two massive jobs. One, it makes these powerful enzymes that break down your food. And two, it creates hormones like insulin that control your blood sugar. Super important. Okay, so here's the heart of the problem. Normally, those digestive enzymes are supposed to stay asleep until they leave the pancreas and get to your intestines, where they wake up and get to work. But with acute pancreatitis, something's caused them to switch on way too early, while they're still inside the pancreas. And since their job is to digest things, they start to irritate and basically digest the pancreas itself. And that is what's causing all of this intense inflammation and pain. This internal irritation is what leads to everything you're probably feeling right now. You've got that signature stabbing pain up high that shoots right through to your back. You probably got nausea and vomiting. Your belly is likely so tender that your muscles just tighten up on their own. We call that guarding. And you might have even figured out that leaning forward or curling into a ball gives you just a little bit of relief. That's because it physically takes some pressure off that inflamed organ. With symptoms this bad, you need answers, and you need them to be clear. The good news here is that your medical team isn't just guessing. The way they diagnose acute pancreatitis is actually very specific and based on solid evidence. So how do they know for sure? Well, it's not a guess. It's all in the data. The most important confirmation comes from a simple blood test. Your team is looking at the levels of two specific enzymes from your pancreas, amylase and lipase. When the levels of those enzymes are at least 3 times higher than the normal limit, that's the slam dunk definitive sign. It's a clear biological signal that the pancreas is inflamed. Once they've confirmed what is happening, the next big question is, why? And that's where imaging comes in. An ultrasound is usually the first step. It's fantastic for spotting gallstones, which are a really common trigger for this. A CT scan, on the other hand, gives a much more detailed picture of the pancreas itself. It lets the doctors see exactly how much inflammation there is and if there are any early complications to worry about. All right, let's talk about what's happening right now with your treatment. You see, unlike something like an inflamed appendix, where you just take it out, the key here isn't surgery. It's actually about giving your pancreas a complete and total break so it has a chance to heal itself. To give it that break, your team has to basically turn off its digestive job. And the best way to do that is to stop giving it anything to digest. That's why you've been told your NPO. It's a Latin term that just means nothing by mouth. I know it's frustrating, but think of it like hitting a pause button. Every time you eat or drink, you're asking your pancreas to go to work. By not eating, you're giving it the quiet environment it absolutely needs to start healing. While you're not drinking, those IV fluids you're getting are incredibly important. They're not just for hydration, they're actually a form of medicine. Pancreatitis can make your body lose a ton of fluid, which puts a major strain on your kidneys. Pumping you full of IV fluids, what we call aggressive hydration, is one of the most critical things we do to protect your kidneys and prevent serious complications. I know the number one question on your mind is, when am I going to feel better? And while everyone's a little different, there's a pretty typical pattern. In the first 24 hours, the combination of resting the pancreas, getting those IV fluids, and using pain medicine really starts to kick in. Usually between 24 and 48 hours is when people say that peak, intense pain really starts to back off. And then over the next 2 to 4 days, the inflammation itself begins to go down noticeably. There is a light at the end of this tunnel. So once that immediate crisis is calming down and you're starting to feel better, your team's focus is going to shift. The goal now is to figure out what triggered this in the first place so we can make sure it never, ever happens again. So there are really 2 main paths forward here, and it all depends on the cause. If a pesky gallstone was the culprit, then the best way to prevent this from happening again is a pretty straightforward surgery to remove your gallbladder after you've recovered. But if the cause was something else, like high triglycerides or alcohol, then the solution is more of a long-term plan that involves changes to your diet and lifestyle. And this is probably the most important and hopeful thing I can tell you. For the vast majority of people, acute pancreatitis is a one-time thing, as long as we figure out the underlying cause and deal with it. This doesn't have to be a life sentence. Think of it as a serious warning shot that, if you listen to it, can put you right back on the path to good health.
Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. Let's look past this hospital stay. What does recovery look like once you actually get to go home? How do you make sure that you heal up completely?
One of the biggest fears people have is this going to be a chronic, lifelong problem now? And the reality is, after a single episode of acute pancreatitis where the cause is found and treated, the odds are overwhelmingly in your favor for a full recovery. It's actually much, much less common for this to turn into a chronic condition.
Getting you back to eating is going to be a slow and careful process. After that MPO resting period, you'll start with clear liquids, things like broth, gelatin, juice, stuff that's super easy to digest. Once your body shows it can handle that, you'll move on to a low-fat diet. And this part is really key because fat is the hardest thing for the pancreas to process. Sticking to a low-fat diet for the first few weeks at home gives that organ all the time it needs to heal completely without being stressed out. So as you head home and get back on your feet, just remember these 3 simple things. First, stay hydrated. Water is your pancreas's new best friend. Second, really stick to that low-fat diet your team recommends as you're healing. And third, know the warning signs of a problem. Being aware puts you in the driver's seat. And that brings us to the final and maybe the most important point. Being watchful isn't about being anxious. It's about being prepared. Knowing exactly when you need to pick up the phone and make that call is a huge part of your recovery plan.
Okay, so here are the 3 big ones, the non-negotiable signs that mean you need to call your doctor or get checked out right away. 1, if that severe, deep abdominal pain comes back. 2, if you find you just can't keep any food or even liquid down without vomiting. Or 3, if you develop a fever or chills. Knowing this puts you back in control. I know this journey is tough, but there is a clear path through it. Rest, heal, fix the cause, and you can absolutely get back to your life.